She said her name was Mob. He didn't believe her. Until the end. Earliest morning, still dark. The far-off horizon hadn't yet birthed the sun. She'd said it must be so. He followed her, the hunched-over black-robed and hooded goblin shape that had only the semblance of a woman's old and weathered voice with which to perhaps mark her as human. She was not one of God's children. He followed her into the graveyard so that they might fulfill the rite and pull one back. She said it could be done, the thing that might be a woman that called itself Mob, and though it was vile blasphemy to do so, Wyckoff prayed that the foul shape in black was able to actually perform the ebon necromantic arts. Please, God forgive me. Please, I just want her back. Please, just give her back to me. Mob Thing had croaked orders to him before they departed the village proper, instructions and materials needed. The place, the wound in time and nature, it must drink. The place was shrouded in swamp gas and white blankets of heavy rolling fog. It was the only thing moving with any kind of life in the rotten cemetery. Neglected. Time had won a terrible battle here. Bomb blasted and nearly primeval, it was as if the prehistoric age was reaching a clawing, vengeful grasp from all the way back and digging in its terrible, wounding marks here. In this place, of cold and sweat. Everything was rotten and rotting in this place, and Wyckoff would have sworn that he felt the very air of the foul place begin on him its own putrefying process of slow decay. If I stay here long enough with that crawling she-thing, my own hair and teeth and flesh and tissue will just liquefy to green and melt away. Mayhap how she came to be in such a condition. He didn't like to look at her, but he needed her. So he kept behind her, the witchwoman Mob, and followed her to the pulling place, Time Womb. Hellmouth. Oh God, why did I ever put you in this place? Whatever compelled me to put you in the ground here? Why did I leave you in this rotting dark place? A great wail, electrical, throated animal cry from somewhere in the pale, from within the pale dead dark. It sounded both desperate animal and malfunctioning failing mechanics, atonal, techno-organic, a metallic KO from another obsidian world. Wyckoff clapped his cold, sweating, greasy palms, filthied, to his ears and cried back in response, begging it to stop. Mob, the witch thing, just cackled, her dead crackling rustles of little animal bones jostled in the killing den of the black nest. He attempted to pray to God for forgiveness. She yelled, scorned. She told the little fool that the Jew god had no power over this blind land. Some places spoiled and were lost to the other side. Enemy territory, she called it, and smiled a sleeming black smile. It wet the dry leather of her lips to a dripping ebon green. She stretched out her thin skeletal goblin arms and splayed out her claws. Begin then, bade the witch. He did. Lost love, he plunged the long hunting blade into the pregnant teardrop bulge filled with feline life and stilled the beast. The blood, warm, flowed, spilled onto the grave. The warm blood flowed forth, and Mob began to sing-speak, throat screech, bastard tongue, and black words that were eons old when the earth was virginal and new. Wyckoff held the bleeding thing where it was and let it pour onto the terrible land that held his Paula prisoner. He let the earth drink so that she may be once more set free. Please, give her back to me. At first, nothing. A beat. But then, the blood, thick and growing darker in color like pitch, began to pool about the wretched little grave. Unnaturally. accumulating and growing in an abundance that was not in sensible correlation with what flowed forth from the small dead beast in satchel and into the growing pool. It began to dance, the surface of blood, with little ripples that suggested movement, life. Something moved beneath its surface. Something was alive inside. Wyckoff began to sweat despite the cold. His eyes were wide in a bulge and unbelieving. His visage was all a mask of greasy, grimy flesh and desperate gazing eyes. Wide, wide as the whole earth. It began to emerge, and Mob began to laugh and sing. Naked, she dripped with thick ichor, hair matted down in a blanket mass, her breasts and figure more plump and ample than before in life, lips full, generous mouth slitted in a smirk. Her eyes were ghostly aglow with mischievous light. Wyckoff saw all of this and none of this. His eyes never blinked. Paula. Her smirk grew wider to a grin, and the grin grew teeth. She raised her bare arms to him and held them out and open. Come into them. Come to me. Wyckoff obeyed the gesture without hesitation. Within her arms, he knew he made a mistake. It was cold, colder than the earth, as ice of the Scandinavian warrior's hell. He tried to pull away immediately, but found she was endowed with terrible strength. He struggled a moment, dread and worry, and not comprehending what was happening, even as it occurred trap-like all around him. He looked up into her face then, the thing that should be Paula, but wasn't. The visage had begun to crack. The mask had begun to deteriorate. The pores first deepened and filled with coagulant and filth, and then began to squirt and spray out like rancid milk and cheese. The eyes suddenly burst into flame and began to roast within the failing skull as the once immaculate face and flesh of his beloved Paula began to slough away. It fell to the cursed earth with a slop. What was behind the mask was a dreadful mess, a wild chaos set of eyes and teeth and mandibles and tendrilic hissing things of the color pink. Mob howled laughter and discarded her robe. She too was naked beneath. Her misshapen flesh and goblin woman form began to shift and change as the scar tissue of her ravaged form began to undulate and dance and manipulate. Bones snapped as she grew taller, twice her height. Cracking could be heard in tandem with Wyckoff's desperate screaming amongst the rolling white clouds of fog and the sour, damp stones of the cemetery graves. Fur. It grew wild and patchy and all over, but inconsistent, like a sick animal that should be dead from pestilence, but isn't, because it is the devil's harbinger. Her face stretched, and these bones snapped too, but Mob just laughed, loving it, loving all of this. She always loved to take this shape. Horns erupted from wiry, dry witch hair that was more straw from the floor of a barn than anything alive. They were coated in something that had once been human blood, but now was the noxious color and odor of seaweed. Her eyes changed color and composition. Pupils swirled like milk within a cup of coffee into blasphemous cross shapes, terrible X's, which were the universal shape and character that was the symbol of death. Death. She grew a beard upon her long, misshapen chin of scarred, ancient flesh. She stroked it as she watched the thing take the shrieking Wyckoff. He was begging it to stop. Please, He filled the cemetery, the sky, the heavens. He filled the entire world and universe in encompass with his desperate throated pleas. Mob, the Goatwitch, did not answer him. She'd already given him what he wanted. Now she was taking her part. It was all just the natural order. The natural order of things. Mob belted cruel, strange animal laughter into the sky, in duet tandem with Wyckoff and his desperate caterwauls of mind-flaying insanity. They filled the sky together, and the day never came to be. The end. It was quiet in the suburban neighborhood of South Gust. Naomi Long, a 22-year-old college student and part-time babysitter, spent time alone at home this weekend. She turned down a babysitting job tonight to study for her finals and enjoy a peaceful evening. Naomi had pizza delivered, had a random movie on in the background, and texted a friend to let them know she would be staying inside for the night. With her laptop on her lap, Naomi began reviewing the notes she had typed up from each of the handouts her teachers had given her. In the middle of reviewing her notes, Naomi's phone rang. She glanced over at it, a heavy sigh escaping her lips. Picking it up, she looked at the screen, which displayed an unknown number. Tapping the screen, she placed it to her ear and answered. "Hello?" Eerie static on the other end crackled as a calm voice asked her, "Have you checked on the children?" Furrowing her brow, Naomi looked at the screen, ended the call, and decided it must have been someone who had called the wrong number. Setting her phone down, she went back to her notes when her stomach growled at her. Now would be the perfect time to reheat some of the pizza she ordered in the oven. Naomi leaned against the counter, waiting with her arms crossed, looking at the TV in the living room. When the timer went off, she got the pizza out with an oven mitt and transferred a couple of slices to a plate. Grabbing a cola out of the fridge, Naomi sat down in the living room. Getting comfortable on the sofa with a slice in hand, her phone rang again. Reaching for it with a free hand, she saw the unknown number on the screen. Rolling her eyes, she tapped the phone icon and answered the call. "Hello?" The eerie, crackling static filled her ear before a calm voice asked her, "Have you checked on the children?" The line went silent. Unsettled, Naomi set the phone down, trying to brush it off as if someone were playing a prank. As the night went on, the calls continued. They kept asking her the same question over and over again, or sometimes telling her things such as, "You're supposed to be watching them," with urgency behind the words. Then other times telling her, "The children are not safe. Why aren't you checking on them?" When checking her phone history, there was no record of these calls. Naomi decided to contact the police, but they were unable to trace these unknown calls unless an actual crime was in progress. She let out a frustrated sigh. Naomi tossed her phone to the side. Rubbing her hands over her face, she looked up at the ceiling, watching as the power flickered all around her. The faint sound of childlike laughter, followed by footsteps heading upstairs, startled her. Naomi jerked her head in the direction of the sound, her heart thumping in her ears. Who was in here with her? After all, she lived alone in this apartment. Standing up, she walked towards the stairs, going up them one at a time. Naomi stepped on something that crinkled under her bare foot. Leaning down to pick it up, she examined the paper. It was a child's drawing that she had never seen before. Peering up at the landing, she squinted her eyes, not seeing anyone there. Naomi made her way back down to the living room and set the drawing on the coffee table. She picked up her phone and went through her old contacts. Naomi was able to find one from a family she had previously babysat for. Calling them, she did not get an answer. Waiting a moment, Naomi tried calling again. The woman who answered was panicked as she spoke to her. Naomi was told that the children were missing and the babysitter that they had hired never showed up. This worried Naomi, as she had grown attached to the children she usually sat for. The line beeped with a busy tone before the call ended. As she was about to set her phone down, it rang, making her jump. Answering, she placed it to her ear. A voice spoke to her through that now all too familiar crackling static. "It is too late now, Naomi. You did not go to check on the children." It was raspy and spoke in a low, whispered tone. The lights went out as the call ended, and something began moving in her apartment. Grabbing the baseball bat she kept next to the stairs, she began her ascent. Walking across the landing, she checked each open door until she made her way to the end. This room she used for storage and always kept locked. Yet, when she tried the handle, it opened with ease. Pushing it open with the tip of her bat, she slowly stepped inside. Along the walls were glowing children's handprints. In the center of the room, leaning against the wall, was a mirror. Gazing into this mirror, she could see that it did not reflect the room she was in. It showed her a room she did not have, with children in it. Naomi reached out slowly, her fingers grazing the surface. Closing her eyes, she pushed her hand against it, sinking inside the mirror itself. When Naomi woke up, she was lying on the floor of a room she did not recognize. A baby monitor buzzed nearby, that all too familiar crackling sound she had been hearing from the earlier calls. Standing, Naomi walked over to the baby monitor, hearing faint talking through the static. She adjusted the channel button and could now clearly listen to the voice trying to come through. "Now, let's try this again, Naomi." "What?" Her voice came out in a shuddering whisper. Naomi did not understand what was going on, or how she was here, inside the room, within the mirror. Was this not her first time here? How come she didn't remember? Naomi's head began to spin as all these questions swirled around her. The voice spoke to her in a low timbre, slowly, almost hypnotizing. "Close your eyes, Naomi, and you can start over from the beginning. Try to remember what happened that day." She closed her eyes, gripping the baby monitor close to her chest. She inhaled through her mouth and then slowly exhaled through her nose. "Now, open your eyes and tell me what you see." Shakily, she opened her eyes, took in her surroundings, and slowly backed away from the center of the room, dropping the monitor in her hands. There in front of her was a gory mess of limbs and viscera. Naomi saw herself hacking away at something or someone covered from head to toe in blood. The self before her stopped what it was doing and slowly turned its head around to look at her with a crooked smile on its face. Naomi's chest hurt and her throat tightened. She began shaking, digging her fingernails into the wall behind her. She let out a shrill screech. The psychologist left the room, his face drained of color, clipboard tightly clutched in his hand, and voice recorder turned off. Finally, they had a breakthrough after all these years. Naomi Long had admitted to the murder of the Hopkins children, the ones she was supposed to be protecting. Dr. Reed paused in the hallway, the very weight of Naomi's words still echoing in his mind. However, as he looked back at the closed door, a chill creeped up his spine. He hoped that the truth would bring the Hopkins family peace, because what Naomi said before the tape stopped was not in the confession. Day 1. I didn't think anything of it at first. I was in the kitchen, filling a glass at the sink. It was late afternoon, that heavy, quiet part of the day where the house feels like it's holding its breath. I had just let Winston out back. Same routine, same dog. While the water ran, I glanced out the window and saw he was standing on the patio, facing the yard, perfectly still. What caught my attention was his mouth. It was open, not panting, just slack. It looked wrong, disjointed, like he was holding a toy I couldn't see, or like his jaw had simply unhinged. Then he stepped forward, on his hind legs. It wasn't a hop, it wasn't a circus trick, it wasn't that clumsy, desperate balance dogs do when they beg for food. He walked, slow, balanced, casual. The weight distribution was terrifyingly human. He didn't bob or wobble, he just strode across the concrete like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like it was easier that way. I froze, the water overflowing my glass and running cold over my fingers. My brain scrambled for logic, muscle spasms, a seizure, a trick of the light, but this felt private, invasive, like I had walked in on something I wasn't supposed to see. Winston didn't look at me. He kept moving forward, upright, his front legs hanging limp and useless at his sides. His mouth stayed open, like a man wearing a dog suit who forgot the rules. I dropped the glass. It shattered in the sink. The sound must have snapped him out of it. Instantly, he dropped back down on all fours. He whipped around, tail wagging, tongue lolling out the side of his mouth. Same old Winston. I didn't open the door. I left him out there until sunset. Day 2. Nothing happened the next day. That almost made it worse. Winston acted normal. He ate his food, barked at the neighbors walking on the sidewalk, and laid his heavy head on my foot while I tried to watch TV. If you didn't know what I saw, you'd think I was losing my mind. I told my wife, Brandy. She laughed, not cruelly, just confused. Asked if I took my medication, asked if I'd been watching messed up horror movies again. She said dogs do weird things, that brains look for patterns where there are none. I laughed with her. I even agreed. But I started watching him. The way he sat, the way he stared at doorknobs, not with confusion, but with patience. The way he tilted his head when we spoke, not listening to tone, but studying words, like he was really trying to understand us. I started locking the bedroom door. Day 3. I know how this sounds, but I needed to know. I went down the rabbit hole, not casual searches, specific ones, the kind you don't type unless you're scared. Can demons inhabit animals? Mimicry in canines' folklore? Skinwalkers, suburban sightings? Most of it was garbage, creepypastas, role-playing forums, but there were patterns. Stories about animals that behaved too correctly, pets that waited until they were alone to drop the act, entities that practiced in smaller bodies before moving up. I messaged a few people, friends, then strangers. I tried explaining that it wasn't funny, that the mechanics of his walk was physically impossible for a dog. They stopped responding. Winston started standing outside the bedroom door at night. I could see his shadow under the frame. He didn't scratch, he didn't whine. He just stood there, listening, as if he was a good boy. Day 47. I don't live there anymore. Brandy asked me to leave about 2 weeks ago, said I wasn't the man she married. I think she's right. I've lost myself. I lost my job. I can't focus. Never hitting quota. Calls get ignored. I'm drinking too much, I'll admit it. Not to escape, not really, just because it's easier than feeling anything. Food doesn't matter. Hunger doesn't matter. Everything feels like it's slipping through my fingers, and I'm too tired to grab it. I walk past stores and wonder how people can look normal, how they can go to work, make dinner, laugh. I can't. I barely remember what it felt like. I still think about Winston. I see him sometimes out of the corner of my eye, standing, watching, mouth open, waiting. I can't tell if I miss him, or if it terrifies me. No one believes what I saw. My family thinks I had a breakdown. Maybe I did. Maybe that's all it is. Depression is supposed to be ordinary, common, overused. That doesn't make it hurt any less. I don't know where I'm going. I just can't go back. Not yet. Not with him there. Day 82. Don't remember writing 47. Don't even remember where I am right now. Some friend's couch, maybe. Smells like piss and cat food. But I figured something out, I think. I don't sleep much anymore. When I do, it's not dreams. It's like rewatching things I missed. Tiny stuff. Winston used to sit by the back door at night. Not scratching, just waiting. I think I trained him to do that without knowing, like you train a person. Repetition. Brandy won't answer my calls now. I tried emailing her, but I couldn't spell her name right, and Gmail kept fixing it. Feels like the computer knows more than me. I haven't eaten in 2 days, maybe 3. I traded my watch for some stuff. Dude said I got a good deal because I looked honest. Funny. It makes the shaking stop, makes the house feel farther away, like it's not right behind me, breathing. I forget why I even left. I just know I can't go back, not with him there. I think Winston knows I'm thinking about him again. I swear I hear his nails on hardwood when I'm trying to sleep. Day 88. Lost my phone for a bit. Found it in my shoe. Don't ask. Typing hurts. I drink a lot now. Cheaper than food. Easier too. Nobody asks questions when you're drunk. When you're sober, they stare like you're cracked glass. Got lucky last night. Same guy outside the gas station. Said he had extra. Said I could pay later. Real friendly. I told him about my dog for some reason. He laughed, but not like it was funny, like he already knew. Winston keeps showing up in my head wrong, standing too straight, mouth open like he's waiting to speak. Sometimes I can't remember his bark, only breathing. Brandy mailed me some clothes. No note, just my name in her handwriting. I cried over socks. Pathetic. There was dog hair on one of the shirts. Tan, coarse. I almost threw up. I think I already warned her, or maybe I'm still supposed to. Hard to tell what's before and after anymore. Everything feels stacked wrong, like the days aren't meant to touch each other. Day 91. I'm so tired. Haven't eaten real food in I don't know how long. Hands won't stop, even when I hold them down. I traded my jacket today. It's cold. Doesn't matter. Cold keeps me awake. Sometimes I forget the word Doug. I just think him. People look through me now, like I'm already gone. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's how he gets in, through empty things. I remember Winston sleeping at the foot of the bed. Remember his weight. Remember thinking he made me feel safe. I got another good deal. Best one yet. Guy said I smiled the whole time. Don't remember smiling. I think I'm finally calm enough to go back. Or maybe I already did. The memories are overlapping, like bad copies. Day 121. I made it back. Don't know how long I stood across the street. Long enough for the lights to come on inside. Long enough to recognize the shadows through the curtains like old friends. The house looks smaller. Or maybe I'm bigger somehow, stretched wrong. The porch swing is still there. I forgot about the porch swing. Brandy answered the door when I knocked. She didn't jump. Didn't look surprised, just tired, like she already knew how this would go. She smelled clean, soap, laundry, normal life. It hurt worse than the cold. She wouldn't let me inside, kept the screen door between us, like it mattered, like that thin mesh could stop anything that wanted in. She talked soft, slow, said my name a lot, said she was okay, said Winston was okay. I asked to see him. She didn't turn around. Down the hallway, through the dim, I could see the back of the house. The glass patio door glowed faint blue from the yard light. Winston was sitting outside, perfect posture, too straight, facing the glass, not scratching, not whining, just sitting there, mouth slightly open, fogging the door with each slow breath. I almost felt relief, stupid, warm relief. Brandy put her hand on the doorframe. I noticed her fingers were curled the same way his front legs used to hang, loose, practiced. Brandy told me I should go, said she hoped I stayed clean, said she still cared. I looked at Winston again, then at her. The timing was off. The breathing matched. And I understood finally why the cameras never caught anything, why he never rushed, why he practiced patience instead of movement. Because he didn't need the dog anymore. Brandy smiled at me, not with her mouth. I walked away without saying goodbye. From the sidewalk, I saw her in the living room window, like before, watching, waiting. Something tall, dark, stood beside her, perfectly still. She never let Winston inside, because he never left.
Thanks for listening, even though I know some of these stories kept you up tonight. If you made it to the end, you've got nerves of steel. Hit subscribe. We drop a new true horror story every week. And don't worry, I'll be here waiting. Sleep well, if you can.